I begin today with a story. There were 4 men on a great journey, and they were looking for the greatest of all lands. They all started at different points in their journey, went through different woodlands and thickets to get where they wanted to go, but at one point they all came to a point of decision. They all came to the sea, to the ocean, and they surveyed the vast beach, and they looked out at the vast ocean, and they knew that they would have to travel over the ocean to get to the greatest of all lands. And on the beach, there were 2 men. There was one far to the left, and there was one far on the right. And the man on the left side of the beach was closest, so all 4 men approached him. And when they got close, they saw that he was a great ship or boat builder. And when they went to talk with him, he said, "You guys should take one of my boats across the sea." And he said, "But there's one thing. My boats are of great price. You will have to earn these boats." And he gave them some of the list that they'd have to do to earn and to pay the great price to have these boats that he would make. Well, 3 of them thought that was too high of a cost, and so they moved on. But one man decided he would pay the great price. So then they went to the other man on the other side of the beach, and he was an old man with white hair, bright blue eyes that were as deep as the ocean, and he had these sun-browned face that had all these crags, and he just looked so old. And he said, I'm a boat builder as well, but my boats are different than the other man's. My boats I've made myself, but after building them, I give them away for free. He's like, I also give some free advice and free wisdom with my boats, but the boat is free. And so the men kind of looked at the boat, they looked at the old man, they said, "You're quite old." And he said, "I'm older than the sea." And to which they agreed. And when they looked at the boats, one man said, this boat is shabby. It's not what I would like. It's not good enough. I will build my own ship. And this man was resourceful. He was clever, and so he was great with technology and invention. So he went and began creating his own boat, his own ship, his own water vessel that would be made of new technology and new invention. And another man saw what was offered, and he said, "This just seems too easy to take one for free. I'm not as clever as the other man, but I too am resourceful. So I will build a boat, but I will build it out of all these shipwrecks." And there had been all these boats from all these other voyages that had washed to shore, and he would take all those pieces and begin building those pieces into one ship. And then the one man who was standing there looking at what they were going to start doing, and he looked at the offer from the old man, he decided, I'm not quite as clever as them, and maybe I'm as resourceful, but I'm afraid I'll mess up, so I'll take you up on your offer, and I will take a free boat, even if it seems shabby to them. And so they all went to work working on boats, except for the one man who didn't have to work at all. So with his time, he decided to get advice and wisdom from the old man, and he began a friendship. And they would sit and talk for long hours about the sea and about where they were going and stories of this man's life. And one of the things he kept coming back to was saying, if you want to make it to the greatest of all lands, you have to keep your eyes set on the morning star, and you have to turn the prow of your boat. The direction of your boat always has to be going toward the morning star. He's like, there will be storms. He said there will be dry periods. There'll be times when the ocean wants to take you by its currents other places, and there'll be other people going other directions. He's like, but if you keep the prow of your boat, the direction of your boat toward the morning, you will find what you seek. Well, a day came where all of them gathered to launch their boats. And the man who had been given the free boat kept saying, hey, you guys, if it's not going to work, if you're afraid of your boat not working, or there's a free boat right here you can take. But all of them were happy with their boats. And as they put the vessels in the water, they all looked at each other, and they noticed that the man who had got his boat through earning it, through paying the great price, looked very different than he originally had. He had deep scars all over his body. His hair was completely gone. There were tattoos all over, and he just looked on the outside much different. And they asked him, what did you have to do to earn your boat? And he said, the price I had to pay was great. He's like, that's why my boat is the best of all the boats here, is I've paid a great price. And the price he had to pay was this. He said, the man made me begin meditating on how great of a boat builder he was and what he was doing and how hard he had worked. And I had to meditate on that day and night. And then I also had to begin giving of my time to any. To be able to use his boat, he would not give it to me if I didn't know anything about it. So I had to learn how to row before I was given the boat. I had to learn how to work on the open sea. And to gain the compass that he gave me, to give me the right direction, I had to get rid of all my past. I had to get rid of all the things that had come before. I had to let go of my family and pictures, and I had to let go of all my history. And I had to shave my head. I had to change my body. And all these scars are put into me to remind me of how great a builder he is, and some of the things that he taught me about his great work that he put into the boats that he builds. And so I've worked so hard. And he said in this compass he taught me that the direction I would go is to look at the morning star and to go 2 degrees to the left. And that will guide me to where I should go. And one of the men who had just built his boat out of all the different pieces looked at him and said, why would you say that your boat is better than ours? He's like, well, I've earned it. I've worked much harder than you. And he's like, no, you haven't worked much harder. He's like, all our boats are equal. They're all great boats. Look at these boats. That one's a little bit shabbier, but look at these boats. And he's like, they're all equal, except mine, because it's been built from all these other boats and has all the best from all the other boats and all the shipwrecks, then mine might be a little bit more equal than yours. He also said, why would you say that we have to go toward the morning? 2 degrees. And he went until he was almost out of sight. And then he landed on a desert island. And there he remained forever. Now, the story has some meaning to it. You guys picking that up? We're in this series called Spiritual Journey. We're all on a journey. And I truly believe that. And when we're on a journey, it doesn't matter so much where we are at, but it's where we're headed. And I think that in the human heart, we all want to know that we're moving forward. I think people get frustrated when they feel stagnant, when they feel like they're not moving forward in life, when they're not moving forward towards something greater than themselves, when their spirituality is not awakened, when they feel spiritually dead or spiritually asleep. So we like to move forward, but even greater than that, we want to know that the direction we're moving is a good direction, that it's a right direction. But in life, there's all sorts of ways, there's all sorts of beliefs, there's all sorts of religions, philosophies, and faiths. And this series is all about helping remove barriers to people moving forward in their journey and feeling confident in where you are moving. And so I have to admit something. When you're hearing this story, you might be saying to yourself, well, this is a particular story, and those men, they stand for something. And George, the story you're telling is going to tell your perspective. And I'm going to just say, yeah, I am telling the perspective as the best I can, the Christian perspective on how Christians and how Jesus portrayed us seeing the world. And in that, the reality is that we all are on a journey. We all have to make a decision. How do we see the world? What direction are we headed? And so I want to give some direction. I want to give also some critique, but I want to do it respectfully. We're going to talk about some other faiths, other philosophies, other religions, but I want to do it with respect, saying that I can't prove beyond a doubt that what I believe in my faith is true without any degree of uncertainty. But I do want to say there are things we need to think about that I might disagree with, and I think the Christian faith might push us in another direction than another. You guys with me? But I want to do that with utmost respect, but I don't think you can respect someone if you're not willing to disagree with them. You guys with me on that? So, the question is today, what did those men represent? What did the man with the boat that he had to earn? What did the man with the boat that he had to build from all the other boats? What did they represent? And then what was their fatal flaw that brought them to the rocks or brought them to the desert island? Are you with me? So, the man with the many boats put together, what does he represent? He represents what is called relativism. Relativism in our culture is a type of faith. It's a type of belief in a system that says this: all roads lead to the same path. All religions lead to the same place, the same God. You can believe anything you want, you just can't believe it's more true than other people. How many of you guys have heard that kind of thinking? How many of you guys might have thought that yourself? Well, it's a way of thinking that I want to show you that has some inherent problems, that has some fatal flaws, I think. And I think Jesus pointed these out that can end up putting you on the rocks. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. He said, He's the way, He's the life. The relativist gets bothered by that statement because they want to say there's many ways. Jesus is just one way. He's not the way. And so what ends up happening is there's this statement or this underlying idea that says all roads and all paths lead to the same God. And there's a problem with that. There's a few problems. And I just want to bring this up quickly because I don't want to bore you guys, and I want to make sure that I address some questions, but that we move somewhere together. And so here are some of the fatal flaws that I see and I think that Jesus points out by saying that He is the way, the truth, and the life. One is that the path that you're on is headed somewhere. And if it's headed somewhere, there's going to be a destination. And not all destinations are the same, and not all paths are leading to the same destination. We just know this in life. Just because you're on a path doesn't mean that it's going to all the other places. It's not going to the same place that all the other paths are going to. Can you follow me? One time we were walking with my in-laws. Me and Sarah Novella were walking with my in-laws. And as we were walking down the street, we just heard this boom. And this guy on this bike, like pedal bike, and he was all decked out. He had like the Speedo. He had like I don't know if he was a wannabe biker or what, but he had like the best equipment. He had like the little mirror right here, and he was just cruising. Whoa, just went by us. And we just barely looked up, and then we heard this wham. My daughter Novella was just like, ah, and she just pointed. She couldn't talk at that point. She was like, da, da, da. And we looked over, and this guy had hit the back of a minivan. He'd been going so fast, but his head was down. He wasn't looking where he was going. Slammed into a minivan, and he hit it so hard that his back tire flipped up and was like, boom, 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 boom. And he got off. He was okay. He was wearing a helmet, which is good. And he was like, I wasn't looking where I was going. And my wife may or may not have laughed. And he said, no, you weren't looking where you were going. And the point is, if we're not really concerned with where we're going, if there's a destination, we're not really looking where the path leads, very often it will end up in a minivan. Boom! We can get damaged if we're not paying attention to where we're going. So it is with faith. Anybody who would say that all faiths go to the same place and they're not really different, I think they might be fooling themselves. It's like someone saying, you should go to the forest and eat berries because berries are good. Eat any of the berries. All the berries are good. When we know that some berries are poisonous and will kill you. When you know that some berries have no nutritional value, apparently. So my wife has been teaching me this with our new diet. And they have no nutritional value, so why eat them? They wouldn't sustain life. And then 3, there's some that would just make you sick. And 4, there are some good berries to eat, but the point is you need to know which berries. Not all berries lead to the same thing. You guys with me on this? There's a pastor I really respect named Tim Keller, and he was with a bunch of other pastors and religious teachers, and they represented Islam, they represented Judaism, and they represented Christianity, and they were in a forum like this so people could come and listen and hear, okay, what do they believe, and what do I want to believe, and do they have anything to offer? And one of the things that they agreed on was this. They agreed on this. Each speaker affirmed that there were significant, irreconcilable differences between the major faiths. A case in point was the person of Jesus Christ. We all agreed on the statement, if Christians are right about Jesus being God, then Muslims and Jews fail in a serious way to love God as he really is. You guys with me? Saying that if Jesus is who he is, and that who is really the representation of God on earth, then Muslims and Jews fail in understanding who God is. Then it goes on to say, but if Muslims and Jews are right that Jesus is not God, but rather a teacher or a prophet, then Christians fail in a serious way to love God as he really is. The bottom line was this: we couldn't all be equally right about the nature of God. Not all paths lead to the same thing. You guys with me? This is really important. And I understand the desire to say, hey, man, guys, religions can sometimes lead people to do bad things or feel superior and judge other people because they're right. And so there's that part of us that's yeah, we don't want to be superior and act like we're superior. And so the problem must be that someone says that this is the way, the truth, and the life. That's the problem. That's the problem, that if you ever say that this is the right way and this is the wrong way, then you're wrong. But what's the problem with that statement? That's saying that my way is right and their way is wrong. It's the same thing. It's like saying, my boat is better because it has all the other boats. We're all equal, but mine is more equal because it has all the other truths of all the other religions. And it's a mistake to say that. It's a wrong way of thinking because it's the same thing. And when someone says, well, Christianity or Islam or Judaism, they're wrong because they're exclusive, they're narrow, they're only that one way. You have to believe my way. Well, that's just as exclusive. That's just as narrow to say that my way is more right than your way. You're making the same statement. You're saying your boat is better, and that means that your boat has a hole in it. You with me? Another thing that you'll see is they'll say that it's the same. The religions are the same. Really, the religions are looking at God from different angles, as different angles of Rainier. If we were to look at it from the south or the north or the east or the west, we'd see different things, and that's what different religions are. And one of the parables for this is about the elephant and the blind man. Have you guys heard this parable? It goes like this. It says there is an elephant, and there were 3 blind monks, and the monks go up to the elephant. And they start trying to search because they're trying to understand who God is, and so they're going to figure it out through an elephant, apparently. That doesn't stomp them or destroy them, because when they start feeling it, he doesn't do anything. So one of the blind monks takes the trunk, and he says, oh, God is like a snake, because that's what he had. Another monk is like, no, you're wrong. God is he's like a wall, because he's pressing against the side of the elephant. It's unmovable, it's massive. One guy had the tusk. It's like, no, both of you are wrong. This is what it is. God is like a spear. And so all religions are like blind monks feeling different parts of the elephant, different pieces, getting different pictures of him. They're all the same. The problem with this is that it assumes that other people are blind, but you can see. So even though it's sounding like it's equal and it's sounding like everything's great on the same level, it's the person who's saying that they see other religions as blind monks is saying that they can see and they can't. And that's the same thing that the blind monks are claiming to say they see. You guys with me? It's a little complex, but I think if we can dig in, it makes sense. When we say that we have the knowledge and that we know and that they don't know, but everything's equal, we're lying to ourselves. We're deceiving ourselves. One of the things I think is valid is there's this fear that through religion, by saying there's a way and there's a truth and there's a life, there's a one way, that it can lead to hate. It can lead to judgment. It can lead to separation. It can lead to violence, war, and death. George, all the things you're talking about right now are the cause of what's happened in Kenya, what's happened in the Middle East with Islamic fundamentalists murdering and killing Christians or other people that believe different things. That's the problem. Let me show you guys something. Religion has a pattern. Religion has a pattern. And also, just one other quick thing that I think might be helpful is this. Just like those boats, if they started off here, but the North Star's here, and someone wants to go 2 degrees off, they're going to end up in their boats in totally different places, aren't they? Argument done. Or if you go by the wind, you're going to go wherever. You with me? Now, to the question, have you guys ever had that question? Hey, Pastor or George, like, religion is the problem. It's the cause of all state. Whether you're Hindu and you're having to put good karma in so you get good karma out, or if you put bad karma in, what happens? Bad comes out, right? So you've got to be good. You've got to obey. You've got to do all the right things so that you can earn your boat. Mormonism, same thing. You have to live a good life, and if you've lived a good life, you might be able to get the boat you want. But if you've lived a bad life, what happens? You're freaked out, like you're going to end up in a bad, bad place, right? This is the pattern of religion. Now, really quickly, with this pattern, there are 2 equal and opposite traps you can fall into. You guys with me on this? You guys following? There's 2 equal and opposite traps you can fall into. One is the treadmill. That's what I call it. One's called the treadmill. The other one is called the trophy case, or the trophy stand. The treadmill is a mechanism that just goes over and over, and you run on it. You guys ever run on a treadmill? One time I had a client, I was working with DD, developmentally delayed folk, and we'd go to the gym, and my friend Steve, who I'd just kind of just assist whenever he needed it, he loved to run, and he would just get on this treadmill, and he would turn it up as high as he could go, and he'd just jump on it and just run as fast as he could. But I didn't know this when I first started, and there was a fatal flaw for him, that he would do it, but he wouldn't know how to turn it down or off quick enough, so that sometimes he would just go, you'd hear this, wham, vroom, and it would just throw him off this thing. He was durable. He was fine. Like, they didn't tell me this, so the first time it was like, wham, bam, 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 he's just rolling, and I was like, are you all right? And he was like, I'm okay. And he went and ran, got right back on, and kept going. No one in the place did anything, because I guess it was like his routine. I was like freaked out. I was like, is everything okay? And they're like, it happens all the time. He's fine. People get on this treadmill. People get on this treadmill, and this is the treadmill of religion. You have to obey. Whatever it is, you have to pray enough. You have to go to church enough. You have to meditate enough. You have to do good things, moral behavior. You have to perform and obey and do well, and you're running and you're running and running. But then you start staying in place because you fail, and you realize you don't live up to the standard. What happens when you fail? You feel bad. When you feel bad, you start getting depressed. When you get depressed, you give up. And you get shot off this thing. That's the treadmill. And it can lead to you feel stagnant. You feel like you're not moving anywhere. You feel like you're not going anywhere. And it's like this whole religion thing just kills you. And you either stay in a point of despondency and stagnancy, or you just give up. That's this trap. The treadmill. Then there's the trophy case. And the trophy case is equal but opposite. It's this. You start thinking, hey, you start living, you're starting to do good works, you're starting to obey the commandments, and you're looking around, and you're like, you know what, I'm kind of like second place right now. I'm not as good as that guy, but look down there. I'm sure none of us have ever done this before. You guys get what this is saying? We've been saved by grace, by love. We haven't been saved by anything we can do. Like, this is saying that this pattern that we behave, we get better, we try harder, we obey more, we try to earn more, is not working. That's not what saves us. This says that it's grace by faith. Because here, if we start thinking we're making it, we start boasting. But this says you can't boast. You can't be proud. None of us can boast about it. For we are God's masterpiece. He made us. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so that we can do the good things He planned for us long ago. Religion says that you must obey to belong. Already trophy case, and it's awful, and it's judgmental, and we're putting ourselves in the place of God, and it's sin, and we fall short. How many of you guys have ever felt like you fall short of God's standard? How many of you guys like think at your life and you're like, I fall short of my own standards? And I just looked at myself this morning, I'm like, ugh. And I walked to church. Hopefully I'm making you feel much worse about yourself. Some people that's what religion's for. No. Well, it is kind of, but then it's like, but God saved you and loves you. And this is the pattern. This is what God has done for you and me. We belong, therefore we obey. We don't just obey to belong. Are you with me? That's the fundamental difference. And Jesus, He took our place. He took our sin. He took our foolishness. He lived the perfect life. He obeyed perfectly. And then because of that obedience and because of His death, His life was given to us. Our belonging, our acceptance is given because of Him. I want to ask you just a few questions. Are some of you struggling in your faith because you're stagnant? Some of you struggling with faith and with your journey because you're not moving anywhere, or you're frustrated, you're on the treadmill. Or some of you get frustrated with yourself because you find yourself always looking at other people and comparing. And you compare and say, I'm not good enough, because that person you compare and you say, I'm better. And you're right here on the trophy stand. I want to tell you the reason you're stagnant, the reason you're struggling with that, the reason that you might feel superior or whatever, that maybe you don't have a depth of friendship with other people, is because you're used to this, earning friendships, earning your salvation, earning your love for God. And you need to switch it. Christians live the religion pattern just as easily as a Buddhist, as a Jew, as a Mormon, any other religion. We jump on that, but Jesus says that's not His way. His way is the truth. His way is the life. His way is the only way to the Father. I have a friend named James who is Mormon. And he said to me, I'm so excited about Jesus. I want to give my life to Him, but I'm scared. One, because if I move, then my family might disown me. I said, that's a big deal. He's like, but what Jesus seems to be offering is amazing. I said, what's your biggest fear, James? And he said, my biggest fear is that I would be on the treadmill of Mormonism and I would just jump off onto another treadmill where I feel like I can't win, or where I feel like there's an anvil waiting to fall on me, like I'm going to end up in hell because I had a bad week. And I didn't do more good than bad. I did more bad than good. I'm afraid that I'm going to just switch Joe's rules for Jesus' rules, Joseph Smith's rules for Jesus' rules. And then we went through Romans 3 and we said it's by belief and faith and grace. It's God has done, not you. Like he did this work so you could belong. And then we get to obey, and it's out of love. We obey out of love. Why do you do things with your life? Why do you serve people? Why do you come to church? Why do you do the things you do? Is it because you love and because you've got this greater joy and you know that beyond a shadow of a doubt that you belong with God and there's nothing you could do that would separate you from His love? You need to jump on Jesus' path, His way. We're all on a journey, friends. Which boat have you been on? It's been the one with all the different boats, all the different religions, the relativist? Or is it like other religions and you've been like thinking maybe this is right, this is right? It's headed somewhere. Where is it headed? How do you get there? Do you have to earn? You're on this religious thing, even this Christian religious thing where you're earning your salvation, you're earning your belonging by your obedience. Guys, that's no way to live. It's no way to live, and you have to hear it. Jesus offers you a new and better way, and it's by faith in His work on the cross. And those of you who are wanting to help people move forward on their journey, this is the biggest thing you can do, is start to recognize this pattern in your life, recognize this pattern in the lives of others, and say, this is not the way. You don't have to say it mean. You can just start saying, hey, there is a better way. If you were living here, wouldn't you want to know about this? Man, I would. As Jesus is the most radical, reforming, transforming leader on the face of the earth and throughout heaven, throughout all eternity, and He is giving a free gift to all of us, and it will transform you. It will move you out of your despondency, out of your stagnancy. It'll move you into joy and to love. And we can't judge anyone. We can't boast and be like, I'm better, because we didn't earn it. Are you with me? Let's pray. Father God, we love You. We thank You. We ask for your movement to just be real and big in our lives. Father God, I just ask that you would be speaking directly to some people today that need to hear this. People who are stagnant, people who are on the treadmill, people who are on the trophy case. Lord, I pray that you would help them get off that and they'd start walking your path, the path of love. They'd stop trying to be God and they start loving God and receiving his love. It's free. The boat's free. Lord, we love you and we give our lives to you. In Jesus' name, amen.